She replaced my falsely accused dad with a monster, so I uncovered the truth. I was 15 when my entire reality just collapsed. My dad, Arthur, was the kindest guy you'd ever meet. But one night the police showed up, flashing lights blinding our living room, and took him away in handcuffs. He was charged with embezzlement and arson. A massive warehouse he managed had burned to the ground. They said he stole millions and lit the match to cover it up. I knew he was innocent. Dad couldn't even lie about liking my mom's burnt casserole, let alone orchestrate a corporate heist. But my mom, she didn't even blink. During his trial, she packed up all his things, filed for divorce, and told me, I always knew he was a loser. It got worse. Exactly 3 months after Dad was sentenced to 10 years in prison, Mom moved him in. Julian. Julian was Dad's regional manager. He drove a flashy sports car, wore way too much cologne, and had this smile that never ever reached his eyes. From day one, Mom was completely obsessed with him. She told me I needed a real man in the house and demanded I start calling him Dad. I refused. And that's when the nightmare really started. Julian got comfortable. When Mom wasn't looking, the mask slipped. I'd wake up at 2 in the morning and see his silhouette in my doorway, just watching me sleep. Whenever I tried to walk past him in the narrow hallway, he'd purposely block my path, leaning in close to whisper, "You're gonna learn to respect me, little girl." I tried to tell Mom. I begged her to listen, but she rolled her eyes and called me dramatic. She said I was just throwing a tantrum because I missed my criminal father. But I had a secret. I never stopped talking to Dad. I used my best friend's P.O. box to smuggle letters into the prison, and Dad would secretly write back. In one of his letters, the paper was literally wrinkled from his tears. But at the very bottom, he wrote a cryptic message. Check the loose floorboard under my old garage workbench. Trust me, I had to wait for the perfect moment. On a Friday night, Mom and Julian went out for an expensive wine tasting. As soon as their car pulled away, I bolted to the garage. My hands were shaking. I pried up the heavy wooden floorboards under the bench. There, wrapped in a plastic grocery bag, was a thick black leather ledger and a small USB drive. I flipped it open. It was a secondary set of accounting books. Dad had been tracking the missing money for months. The notes proved it wasn't Dad skimming the accounts. It was Julian. Suddenly, I heard the crunch of tires on the driveway. They were back early. My blood ran completely cold. I shoved the ledger down the back of my jeans, pulled my oversized sweater down to hide it, and scrambled to my feet. The side door violently swung open. Julian stood there, his eyes dark and furious. Mom was still out in the car. "What are you doing in here?" he demanded, his voice low and terrifying. "Just looking for my old bike pump," I stammered, my heart hammering against my ribs. He didn't believe me. He stepped forward, grabbing my upper arm so hard his fingers dug straight into my bone. He leaned in, his foul wine breath hitting my face. "You're a terrible liar, just like your father." I ripped my arm away and ran to my room, locking the door. That night, Julian made his move. He convinced Mom that my snooping and rebellion were out of control. At breakfast the next morning, Mom calmly announced that she was sending me away to a strict, isolated behavioral camp in Utah for a whole year. I had exactly 48 hours before I was shipped off. I was panicked. I snuck my phone into the bathroom and called Dad's old army buddy, Uncle Marcus. Marcus was a tough, no-nonsense guy who never believed the police's story. I told Marcus everything. About the ledger. About Utah. "Listen to me," Marcus said, his voice dead serious. "The ledger is great, but a good lawyer might claim your dad forged it. We need proof Julian set the fire. We need a confession." I knew what I had to do. It was insanely dangerous, but I had no choice. The night before I was supposed to leave, I packed my bags, leaving my bedroom door cracked open. I slid my phone under my pillow and hit record. Around midnight, I heard the floorboards creak. Julian slipped into my room. He stood at the foot of my bed, a sick, victorious smirk on his face. "Have a nice trip tomorrow, kid," he whispered. I sat up, looking him dead in the eye. "I know it was you," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I know you framed him." Julian laughed, a quiet, evil chuckle. He stepped closer. "And who's going to believe you? Your mom thinks you're crazy." "Why?" I pushed. "Why destroy our family?" His ego couldn't resist bragging. He leaned over my bed, his face inches from mine. "Because your dad was a pathetic chump," he sneered. "He got too close to the missing money. So I took the cash, I lit the match, and I planted the company files in his trunk. It was almost too easy. And as a bonus, I got his house and his clueless wife." He smiled, thinking he had one. But he didn't notice the shadow in the hallway. Mom had come upstairs to bring me extra suitcases. She was standing right in the doorway, and she heard every single word. Her face was ghost white. The suitcases slipped from her hands, crashing to the hardwood floor. Julian spun around, the blood draining from his face. "Babe," he stuttered, holding his hands up. I was just messing with her." Mom didn't hesitate. She grabbed the heavy brass lamp from the hallway table, aiming it right at his head, and screamed, "Get out of my house!" She called the police right then and there. I grabbed my phone, stopping the recording, and locked myself in the bathroom until the sirens arrived. The fallout was massive. Uncle Marcus took the ledger and the audio recording straight to the district attorney. Faced with his own recorded voice, Julian's expensive lawyers couldn't do a thing. He took a plea deal to avoid a longer trial. 25 years, no parole. 2 months later, Dad's conviction was overturned. The day he walked out of those prison gates, he looked thinner and so incredibly tired. But when he saw me waiting by Uncle Marcus's truck, he burst into tears. I ran into his arms, holding onto him like I'd never let go. Mom tried to be there. She stood by her car, crying, begging for a second chance. She said she was manipulated, that she was just trying to protect us. Dad looked at her and just shook his head. He climbed into the truck and we drove away, leaving her in the dust. It took time, but Dad and I rebuilt our lives. We got a small apartment, just the two of us. I'm 18 now, heading off to college to study criminal law. Julian is rotting in a cell. Mom is living alone, drowning in her own guilt. They thought they could throw my dad away and replace him with a monster. But they forgot one crucial detail. I was never going to stop fighting for the truth.